Hello everyone, it's so good to be here again. I just came back from Cinema de Park to see Riddle of Fire, a film that honestly I had no idea what to expect going in. All I knew about it was that there were kids in the film, and that was a debut filmmaking attempt, and that IGN gave it a 10 out of 10. Not that they are the be-all, end-all arbiters of what is good or bad, because when you look at Metacritic, it is currently sitting at 54%, so there's quite a wide gap. In any case, once again, I really didn't know what to expect from this film, and I always kind of mind-wipe myself of any preconceived expectations I may have of the film, and I actually damn near came late to this film. Of course, you can always rely on the Montreal Metro to just go down in flames whenever you need it most. No surprise there, and it is kind of appropriate that I came in running and panting into this film just in time as the advertisements were finishing. Thank you, advertisers, for being as long as you are in this day and age. But indeed, it was a very appropriate tone setter for this, frankly surprising adventure. Yeah, guys, this is quite the adventure. The general premise of the film is we follow the story of these three troublemakers who are armed to the teeth with paintball guns, and I gotta say, they show some pretty deadly accuracy skills in this film on several occasions. Gotta say, I was pretty impressed. Not only that, they use their cell phones as these kind of like spy gadget binoculars. It's kind of cheesy and lo-fi, and a lot of us in the theaters were looking at ourselves like, what is going on here? This is kind of weird, but just bear with it. In any case, the film starts off with this heist, if you will, of this storage facility where they steal this game console. Not a real game console in our world here on planet Earth. It's their own invented parallel universe game console, but it seems quite exciting to the younglings here. I actually totally forgot to mention that these kids are also riding dirt bikes, and after their successful heist, they go riding out the gates like a bat out of hell. So they get back home, they're all excited. Yes, we did the heist. We got the game console. They plug it into the TV, but they can't play it because there's a password on the TV that their mother enabled. And try as they may, they just can't figure out what the password may be. So they're all quite upset by this. I mean, they didn't go through all that trouble for nothing to not be able to play the game console. So they go up the stairs to very politely ask, please, 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 can we please play? But lo and behold, the mother is quite ill and she's been bedridden all day. And you see this mountain of Kleenex surrounding her. And after all their pleading, she acquiesces to their plight, but under one condition. They must do a very important errand for her, and that is to get her a blueberry pie. Yes, I kid you not, that is their mission, and thus begins their odyssey throughout the rest of the film to acquire this mystical blueberry pie. And yes, it is worth all the effort in the end. And me not only being a game developer, but also a bit of a gamer myself, I can't help but draw parallels between this and what you would see in like Dungeon and Dragon games or in RPG games, generally speaking, with this quest line that seems to just branch off always and deeper and deeper. It seems with each completed side quest, there's yet another loose thread that needs to be resolved before they can get the reward at the end of the day. Each task becomes more dire and complicated, and these are quite the trials and tribulations, let me tell you. Actually, no, I won't tell you. I'm not going to spoil a single thing because it is quite the wondrous ride. Gotta say, this is a hilarious movie. All of us in the cinema were just in stitches the whole way through. I think we're all perhaps a little lukewarm at the beginning because it is a rather cringy, lo-fi, and kind of weird experience, but the more you go through it, the more you realize like, oh, okay, no, this is actually super cute and endearing. And the chemistry between our three main protagonists is just wonderful. They really play off each other beautifully. Indeed, they have quite the powerful bond between each other, but they do have quite a few rough and tumble moments. They do get in arguments with each other, and a lot of the banter between them in these moments are so uproarious, and they never felt fake. It is all quite, once again, endearing, and it felt authentic throughout the entire experience. And this chemistry, of course, applies to all the other cast members we'll see throughout the film. There's quite numerous of them. Once again, I don't want to spoil too many surprises for you guys, because it is quite a ride. But I will mention that the writer-director of this film, Weston Razzuli, does make an acting appearance in this film, and he probably plays the goofiest character of them all, which is no small feat, mind you. But yeah, these three kids in particular are a barrel full of sass, and they have quite a bit of riz too. Most particularly Jody, who admittedly does have a little bit of a speech impediment, and there is quite a bit of subtitle that's added for his speech in particular because it is a bit hard to tell, but he's so cute and funny, and there's so many moments that all of us in the theater are like, oh my god, I can't believe he just said that, but it actually totally works. Yeah, I always found myself thinking like, oh my god, I can't believe we're going there, or I can't believe you guys are doing this, and yet the film seems to just one-up itself over and over again throughout the whole film. And as far as the art direction goes, yes, it is rather lo-fi in its production and its budget, but I still think it's a super effective and a wondrous, magical, and mystical experience, honestly. The production design in particular gets more inventive and whimsical the further along we go in the film. I love all the little trinkets and toys and these like little minute details that are just sprinkled all across the film. Indeed, the locations themselves are fantastic, whether it be these wood cabins that are so intricately decorated, or my personal favorite being these breathtaking landscapes from those beautiful white mountain faces, or these endless horizons of forest, or in several moments just being deep in the thick of the woods themselves. And the soundtrack also does wonders to help add yet another layer to this like woodland fantasy vibe of this film. Indeed, even a character in the film, when the kids show up at their doorstep, they call them forest sprites or woodland spirits, something of that sort, and it's so appropriate in many ways. Now that I think about it, actually, as we go further and further along in the film, the kids are all dirty and ragged. They give off even more these chaotic forest spirits, if you will. It's quite effective, and as a final comment on the artistic direction, I do find that there's this like very grainy and hazy overlay quality of the whole film that adds to this like very like dream like fantasy vibe of the film. So as you can tell, I'm pretty much head over heels in love with this film. Once again, I had no idea what to expect with it. It was quite a surprise, but I imagine that this might not be everyone's cup of tea. It is rather peculiar to say the least. And if I did have to be a little bit critical about the film, there's one moment in particular where the child actors, as brilliant as they are, I felt that they were like a second away from just bursting into laughter in a scene that was quite tense. It was supposed to be dramatic and serious, so that did break my immersion ever so slightly. But perhaps the biggest peculiarity is the mother, who's supposed to be super sick and bedridden, but honestly, everything about her demeanor, her skin color, her personality, her tone of voice makes me feel like she's totally not sick. If it weren't for the mountain of tissues and for her saying like, oh, I'm so sick, I would call total bullshit on that. And actually, there's another character in the film, a totally minor thing, not much of a spoiler, and one of the kids comments like, they're totally faking it, they're not sick. You should direct that at your mother. She's totally phoning it. She just wants that cherry pie. Excuse me, blueberry pie. Yeah, clearly I've watched too much Twin Peaks. And maybe just the fact that I'm back in a forest here is making me think of that again. No relation whatsoever, that's just me. I think if there are any other comparisons more appropriate than Twin Peaks to draw on would be, as I mentioned earlier, Dungeons & Dragons. I'm also thinking of Stranger Things, especially with that posse of these young troublemakers that are working together in this very like fantasy-like environment. But of course, the classic films in the 80s like The Goonies and Stand By Me, a film that I hate to admit that I still haven't seen to this day. I know, it's a shame. I have homework to do. But in any case, to wrap up my thoughts about this film, Riddle of Fire, I totally loved it. I thought it was a super cute and endearing film. So much more so than I could have ever expected. And I think a lot of people in the crowd also felt similarly. Yeah, these kids were something else. And I do love how so many elements of the screenplay have a really interesting way of coming back full circle later on in the film. So it makes this really interesting web of events and it creates this very synchronous feeling. And speaking of synchronicity, this is a minor spoiler, but there's a chicken called Valentina later in the film that plays an integral role into the narrative arc of the film, and it just so happens that today I was modeling a chicken in Maya. No relationship whatsoever to anything whatsoever in anyone's life, but that blew my mind. It's like, oh my god, chicken. Anyways, as usual, I digress. This is a pretty extraordinary debut filmmaking attempt, and I think this shows great promise for Weston Razzulli. So yeah, awesome. An easy 9 out of 10 as far as I'm concerned. I'm surprised that more people aren't talking about this film. So hopefully this review will help in some way, shape, or form to make you realize that, hey, this indie film, you probably don't want to miss out on it because it's kind of awesome. So with all that being said, wishing you and your loved ones nothing but the best. Take care and talk to you soon.